Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me for my presentation on the powers of AWP and 4D animations. My name is Dylan Underhill, and I'm a BIM VDC advisor for Trillium Advisory Group here in Canada. My educational background is in architectural technologies and construction management, and I earned my bachelor's degree in Denmark. I have 8 years of BIM and VDC professional experience in multiple sectors, including residential, single and multi-use commercial, infrastructure, heavy industrial, and nuclear projects. I started in an engineering firm, I moved to an architectural practice, and then I worked for some of the largest general contractors in Canada before moving into an advisory role. My current focus is on innovative construction practices, digital twinning, and simulations. I'm a delegate for the Construction Progress Coalition and a member of the Building Transformations Modular Construction Think Tank. At a base level, I always loved the virtual world and 3D modeling and technology, and that really helped push me into the career path I've taken. In this presentation, obviously we're going to talk about AWP and 4D, and to do that, we quickly need to look at why it matters. What is the state of the industry right now? We're going to briefly look at AWP, step over to 4D planning, and finally pull them both together to understand how they complement one another to deliver better projects. And then we have some time at the end for questions. So what is the state of the industry? I don't want to start this presentation off on a negative note, but it's important to understand and acknowledge the state of the industry. When I talk about industry in this presentation, I'm talking primarily about construction. Our industry is facing a lot of complications. On average, we're working on more complex projects with more constraints and trying to balance that with smaller budgets and shorter timelines. Unfortunately, that is causing some major problems for large-scale projects and the teams that work on them. 72% of firms say their projects are taking longer than expected. These delays are caused by an enormous numbers of outside factors, like compromised supply chains, labor shortages, and even tariffs between countries causing price fluctuations when material cannot be purchased from its original source. These outside influences have catastrophic impacts on the project's bottom line, leading to 98% of mega projects being delayed and or over budget. And they aren't just over budget by a small amount. Large projects are typically 80% over their initial estimation. So we have an industry that's getting more complicated. We have more rules and regulations every single year. Owners are more involved than ever before, and they demand transparency. Our material is harder to plan around and procure because our supply chains are volatile. Our teams are smaller and harder to replenish with new talent as an aging workforce starts to leave the industry. Our workers spend 35% of their time on non-productive activities, such as looking for the correct information, conflict resolution, and dealing with mistakes or rework. I'm not saying everything is on fire, but we need to look at digitization and advanced planning practices to limit some of these impacts on our projects. And that brings us to AWP. AWP is advanced work packaging. I have some history up on the screen, but we'll stay at a high level to keep things moving. And at that super high level, AWP started as workface planning, or WFP, in Alberta to deal with the oil sands construction projects consistently being over budget and out of time. In 2009, CII looked at work package planning using WFP and other industry best practices as a base for developing a better standard. This was presented in 2011, and a joint research team was created between COAA and CII to create a more advanced version of work packaging that aims to look at the entirety of a project's life cycle, hence the name Advanced Work Packaging. AWP is a system in which projects are broken into smaller, more granular packages that look to eventually culminate in 2 weeks of unconstrained work called an IWP, or an installation work package. I won't go into everything in this presentation. We simply don't have enough time to cover all of the intricacies of AWP. Our President Tennis has a great AWP course that spans a couple of days, and realistically, we have 20 minutes. The granularity I mentioned starts at the construction work area, and that focuses on geographic separation of project elements, shown here as different colored zones. Inside of these CWAs, we have construction work packages. These CWPs contain containers of work that can be sequenced based on logical construction activities. CWPs are discipline specific and should represent less than 20,000 resource hours. CWP and EWP are linked here because they should be a one-to-one match. And EWP stands for Engineering Work Package. Taking another step down, we have Installation Work Packages, or IWPs. These are created by a workplace planner with superintendent input to determine the most optimal sequencing strategy. An IWP is not multidisciplinary. They're designed to work and be constraint-free, meaning they cannot be issued or released until the work contained within them can be completed from beginning to end, no waiting for materials, no waiting for other trades, totally unconstrained. At its core, AWP focuses on breaking down projects into smaller, more manageable chunks, and the philosophy is to support local construction sequences, getting people what they need when they need it. It's a collaborative way of planning, and these smaller containers of work are perfect for 4D integration. 4D animations are very simple in their concept. It's simply a connection between model geometry and schedule information that produces a visual of process or project progress. At Trillium, we build all kinds of 4D animations, and they typically aim to achieve a certain task or hit a specific metric. That means that 4D animations can be created at any stage of a project and still have a tremendous amount of impact. Some of the animations are destined for proposal work, giving the team a strategic edge in catching the owner's eye or showing the amount of thought that went into making sure a plan is possible. 4D animations have a level of flash or appeal, and that helps teams sell the project. When I mentioned earlier that owners are demanding more transparency during these projects, 4D animations can help achieve that. Not every stakeholder is going to understand a project from a set of drawings, some renders, or even a few static images of a model. Everyone can understand a visualization on some level, which makes proposals easier to digest by important decision makers or people who typically wouldn't have too much of a say in the project. By utilizing 4D early on, teams can begin planning laydown and material management strategies that evolve throughout the project's lifespan. We can begin building safety into our plans and visualizations by simulating heavy lifts or planning time-restricted areas. Imagine having the ability to reference a 4D animation any day of the week and being able to physically show new hires or site visitors the exact areas that they should avoid or are not allowed to be in. Building safety into our 4D animations is key to keeping everybody safe. During construction, utilizing a 4D animation takes on a different role. It makes sure the project is staying on track, and it also becomes a sandbox for finding solutions to return to that critical path if the schedule does start to slip. By testing non-destructive alternative scenarios, teams can improve the project plan. Making adjustments to a sequence or pivoting to an alternative work area, we can help the project always advance and be better. We can also predict completion rates of areas or systems based on current or increased manpower. We can visualize procurement status, we can create handover plans, and report all of this information to every stakeholder in a digestible way. With a 4D enabled project, we are creating project insights that take 30 seconds to digest instead of 30 minutes. 4D content isn't a boring spreadsheet or a PDF that no one will ever read. It's information designed to positively impact any project it is deployed on by providing valuable metrics to make data-driven decisions, not emotional ones. Which makes AWP and 4D better together. AWP and 4D work in tandem to provide a better end product. They do this by naturally complementing one another in the deliverables that they produce or utilizing the data generated in either system to enhance the other. AWP and 4D both want to increase in detail as the project progresses, and AWP helps 4D animations stay relevant by providing this path to completion. Since AWP is construction focused, the IWP level animations are highly accurate and correlate to the way things would really be assembled in the field. This alignment with real-world processes creates a 4D animation that is accurate and can be used to discover faulty sequencing or provide context to workers who might look to deviate from the construction model. This shows those workers the ripple effects or brings awareness to the potential clashes they could cause by straying from the model. 4D also acts as a model metadata validation tool, which helps projects move forward towards a digital future where digital twins are the norm. Talking about metadata, teams that model for AWP projects include specific metadata fields in all of their model elements. These fields are codified according to AWP standards, which means they are highly consistent in their application and execution. This is one of the most valuable aspects of AWP and 4D connection because it enables automation through the use of scripts. These simple scripts help create the data paths between the model geometry and the AWP schedule. While you may be able to manually create 4D animations for smaller projects, heavy industrial projects have hundreds of thousands of different model elements, and manually assigning them to a complex construction schedule is not a feasible task. This automation process creates 4D animations that can be updated and delivered on a weekly basis, where the same task using a manual process could take months. AWP supports 4D and 4D supports AWP. They both look to provide a better planning system and more eyes on how the project is progressing to draw from a collective intelligence of all stakeholders engaged on a project. And these aren't just theoretical. Together with our parent company Zachary Group, we recently released a case study about 4D regarding the 4D deployment on the Golden Pass LNG export facility. This project is still ongoing, so the final impact is not known, but the average time to produce IWPs using 4D and work package automation tools had been reduced from an expected 8 hours to 2 hours per package. The 75% time savings per package represents a forecasted reduction of 120,000 resource hours in work package development, the equivalent of 14 full-time positions. The project teams have conducted over 30 large Group 4D model reviews and even more small group reviews. These reviews have contributed to a 35% increase in planned piping installation sustained rates. An additional savings of 29,050 resource hours are forecasted because of the investment made in 4D planning. This substantial savings is driven by reduction in scheduling time for work packages and optimization of task planning with the ability to visually plan and review sequences. Out-of-sequence tasks are easily identified and replanned, which reduces the potential for downtime or productivity loss in the field. So AWP and 4D animations combine together to create insulation for project teams from outside forces or elements that may be out of their control. By using a data-centric approach, we can determine the best course of action when everything goes wrong. And that helps teams stay on track, stay on time, and stay on budget. And it's one of the ways that Trillium is helping teams produce better products every day. I want to thank the BIM Coordinators Summit team for all their support and inviting me to present. Thank you for joining me. I know it's a lot of information and I can't dive into all the specifics, especially around AWP, but I hope that this at least piqued your interest and you're going to look more into AWP and 4D deployment or reach out to me. Our website is trilliumgroup.io and you can find me on LinkedIn. Thank you again for attending, and we will open the floor for questions. If you are uncomfortable asking a question or I can't answer you in the time slot provided, Feel free to send me a question on LinkedIn, and I'll do my best to answer it in a timely manner. Thanks.